Hello, and welcome to another episode of The End of the Search. This one I call it The Tiny Detail Often Overlooked. It has to do with a question somebody asked me. I will read it. That says, Nick, I have been applying the principles shared not only in your videos but in not identified with thoughts. And I am happy to see that it does has a significant effect on me. The issue is, I know how to apply it when it comes to my personal issues. But when it comes to my children, I still find myself caught heavily in the mind. I feel hurt and sad when I see them suffering, either because things did not go how they expected, or when they lose something they loved, and so on. And I know it is just an interpretation. Yet, is it possible to just experience that peace that I know I am, even when it comes to my children? Okay, this is the tiny detail that is being overlooked. Imagine like you're in bed dreaming. And in the dream, you're dreaming that you're there and you have children, and in the dream you imagine that you are applying the principles so that you can feel better, and that hopefully you will feel peace no matter what happened to your children, right? But the little detail that is overlooked is that you're still applying the principles in the dream for the dream character, when the investigation here is to recognize that the dream character is non-existent. You see? So we're not doing this to apply it to the person. So I can say, if I don't identify with the thoughts, then I feel better. But when it comes to my children, no, we're not even applying it to the person. There is no person. The investigation is to see if there is a person. You see? So we're not applying this to specifics in the dream. We're not trying to make the dream real. We're just recognizing the fact that I am, which has nothing to do with the dream, not even with the seeming person that I claim to be. You see? So when that investigation is made, which is where these videos are pointing to, then all the other issues, they drop on their own. You see? Because only the identification with the character, with the thing, with the thought, I, person, is the root cause of all the problems. That's what the investigation is for. It's not so that I, the person, the individual, apply these things for the person. No, we're investigating if there is such a thing as a person. That's why now the worldly issues or the things with life, they can be seen as such. I'm going to tell you a story that I believe Robert Adams used to tell, just to give you an idea where this is pointing to. The story is about a banker, man who have his regular job. He has a family and he has two children that he loves very dearly, and the children loves him, two sons. And then one day the sons go on a trip to New York and the airplane crashes and he loses his two sons. Well, they do go to the funeral, I did all the arrangements, and in the funeral people noticed that he wasn't crying like everybody else, as if he was, he wasn't suffering, like I guess everybody think he should. So then the next day he goes back to work. And people ask him, how insensitive are you? You didn't even shed a tear in the funeral of the children that they love you so much and you love them so much. How could you possibly behave like that? So he offered this answer that, of course, somebody who's very identified with the concepts of a person and the I, the individual, probably would not be able to understand, but this is the answer that he offered. He said, last night, I had a dream. I was a king and I have a queen, of course, my wife, and my 9 children, and I love them all of them. All of a sudden a tsunami comes in, wipes everything out, and it takes my children and my wife. And in that moment I woke up from a dream, because it is a dream. So, should I suffer for my wife and my 9 children in the dream? Or should I suffer for the 2 children that I've had in this dream? You see? There's a recognition that it's all a made-up story and all are just thoughts, beliefs. And when somebody's really centered in that, then the world is seen differently. It's not so much believed in. Now, you may say, okay, that sounds like a nice story. Maybe that's just a metaphor or something. Well, I'm going to tell you another story now of a woman who lives right now, and she didn't write the book, but somebody wrote a book about her. I think it's called Silence Heals, and her name is Yolanda Duran Serrano. And in her case, what happened is that she never knew anything about spirituality, nothing whatsoever. And one day she had a, I don't know, call it awakening or so. She was, I don't know, I think she was in her house, maybe doing dishes or something, and boom, something happened. She refers to as the thing. She didn't know anything, whether God or anything, because she didn't believe in any of, I mean, she's not into religion or spirituality or nothing. She just called it the thing. She said this thing took over. It's kind of all of a sudden, her world was turned upside down. She starts seeing things. She still behaved the same way, in a sense that she's still the same person, you know, you can see her and talk to her just like, but her attitude towards life shifted completely, something that she cannot understand. And she said, once that things took over, never left me. Well, 2 weeks later, the 19-year-old son is involved in a car accident and he dies. When the family tell her about it, well, she recognized that, okay, the son is no longer there, but because she saw it in a different way, not in the way that most people think, you know, she was not suffering at all. There was no suffering. All that there was is that, okay, this energy pattern that used to be part of this energy field, which I'm part of it as well, is no longer here. The energy pattern in the form of a body is no longer here, but the fact that the energy is what we are, I'm not saying that that's how she saw it, but that's just trying to give you an idea. And she continued living her life, and this sense of tranquility that she transmits, and people couldn't understand, and for quite a while their family thought that she was in denial. You know, that's what people may say, oh, she must be in denial. So she ended up going through a psychiatrist because her family please asked her to go. So out of compassion, I guess, she went to the psychiatrist, and finally the psychiatrist says, look, there's nothing I can do for you. The woman is in a space that, and again, she behaves just like anybody else. She does the things that everybody does, but that shift, you see. Now the challenge with that is that maybe you want to say, I want to have that shift, and you're going to get lost again. See, that's why I'm careful about these kinds of stories, because then people think that I have to have that shift somehow so that I can see life. No, it's very simple. It's very simple. Right now, if you don't identify with any thoughts, because all the story that you hear, that you see that I read, is basically someone identify with the narrative of the mind, you see. But if she looks at this from what we're pointing to here, well, when the thought comes that the child is suffering, immediately she knows that it's a thought. And if a feeling comes along and the thought wants to interpret it, she knows that it's a thought, that it's a feeling, that's just all that there is, and you rest in that, you see. But she was so identified with a sense of identity, applying it to herself. When she had the feeling, the mind went into the feeling interpreted everything, and now she finds herself caught up in her own tsunami. You see? But the investigation is really to notice that a feeling is just a feeling, it means nothing. A thought is a thought, it means nothing. But as long as I still hold on to a sense of identity, I think it means something to me. So when this recognition takes place, you could be said that you know who you are. The difference is that you don't go out there telling anybody, I know who I am. That would defeat the whole purpose. There's a recognition that without the thought, without the interpretation of a thought, without believing the thought, put it this way, then life is. So right now, if you step aside from all stories and you're resting right this moment, don't identify with any thoughts. You see, if you don't identify with any thoughts, then what is left? See, it's a mystery, so to speak, because it's not something you can describe or define. If you tell me peace is left, you're still in the mind. The mind is the one describing the present moment as peaceful. I'm not even asking you to tell me anything. I'm just simply pointing to. You see, we're just pointing to what is. That what isness goes more in alignment with what you are, which has nothing to do with any thoughts, has nothing to do with any stories, has nothing to do with what the character is feeling. It has nothing to do with the character. It's just beingness. You see? And again, the mind at the beginning is trying to understand this, is trying to become beingness, when the mind is the obstacle itself. And the mind is just a thought, again, you see? It's a thought that says, I am this person that now is trying to understand something. But right this moment, again, you don't need to close your eyes or anything. This is not about any particular, I don't know, exercise or something. This is just the naturalness of the beingness. See, this is it. Life is. You are life. And if you don't believe the content of the mind, the thoughts that seems to appear, if you don't use them to try to make real what is not real, and what is not real is thoughts. You see, what is not real is the world of appearances. It appeared to be so because the thought I individual who seems that is perceiving everything appeared to be real, and that's fine. We're not denying anything. We're just looking. You were looking through the clouds. We're looking through the veil. So this is not about denial. This is not about, okay, I just know that I am not this. No. This is not something you say. The investigation leads you to see the obvious. Right now, can you say that you are not? Right now, right this moment, this is all there is, because in the end there's no other moment. This is it, you know. Right now, without identification with the thought, with the thinking mind that is trying to evaluate, and is beginning with the evaluation, me, individual, and this could happen to me and my life and everything. No. Right now, without any kind of evaluation, you see. And again, evaluation can be seen, is used for practical things, but again, it's very practical to evaluate. That's a computer, I know how to turn it on and everything. That doesn't affect me psychologically. But if somebody steals the computer and I think it's important and I suffer, that's a psychological evaluation that we're pointing to. But that will only pertain to the seeming individual who thinks that has a thing is called a computer, because believe that there's me who's separate from everything else. You see? But when this recognition takes place, if somebody steals the computer, well, it just implies that that energy pattern that seems to have the shape of a computer is no longer there in a visual form. It's still the energy pattern in a sense that all that there is the same energy pattern, but the shape is no longer there. Okay? But it doesn't affect at all the energy pattern. When you're dreaming, the dream doesn't affect the mind at all. And when the dream disappears, well, in reality the dream was never even there. It was a projection of the mind, but the mind is never affected. Well, you can never be affected whether the body is here or the body is not here. You see, consequently, you cannot be affected whether your children are here or the children are not here. In the same way that you cannot be affected whether your computer is here or your computer is not here. But don't try to trap this with the conceptual mind, because you will miss the mark. The conceptual mind is trying to evaluate all this and understand it. I'm pointing beyond that right now. Right now. If you don't identify with any thoughts, just like that, and don't try to solve your personal issues, your problem or something. That's why I love in the Bible when it says, give Caesar to what's Caesar and God to what is God. Is that don't try to mix the two. In A Course in Miracles, it refers to don't try to bring truth to illusions, okay? This whole world is illusion. The you who thinks is watching this video, the me that think is talking to, all of this is part of the illusion. However, there's a way of living in the world, as A Course in Miracles would say, there's a way of living in the world that is not of it, but it appears to be so. You smile more often, your eyes are tranquil, your forehead is serene. Why? Because you're not identified with the content of the mind. Well, that's what Lady Yolanda Duran Serrano, she lives from that space, because now she sees the falseness of it all. You see? And again, there's other stories of people who might have those experiences, but I don't want to get into that, because again, there's a tendency of thinking, I want to have the experience they have. No, I'm inviting you to realize that right now, right it is. This moment, right this moment. If you don't identify with any thoughts, if you don't believe any thoughts, put it this way, they will be there, that's fine. Clouds will be there, and sometimes they won't, but they won't affect the sky. Right now, this is the invitation. And if you're thinking, no, but I have this problem or this feeling or something, yeah, this is thought interpreting. Again, let the feeling be there, whatever, and whatever you call the problem, just again, don't label it anything, because it's a problem because it's labeled a problem, not because of what's happening. Just be right now, this moment, right here, right now. Again, this is subtle because you're still probably practicing it as if you are practicing it. But again, I'm doing the best I can. I'm pointing to what is left when there's no identification, when there's no believing in the mind or the content of the mind or the thoughts. Notice what is left. And what is left is beingness. And that beingness is always. Whether your children are suffering or whether they're not. Whether the things go their way or they're not. Whether you are dealing with the things in life or not. The beingness remains. See? Well, these videos are pointing to the beingness. They're not denying your personal experience. They're not saying you're going to be an indifferent mother who will not care about the children. You will care about them just the same. You will love them just the same. Actually, you will love them even more, because now there's no fear. You see? The idea that I'm suffering because look what's happening to them is taking your own fear, projecting it upon them, and then that doesn't necessarily serve them. If anything, hinders them. But what if you can be the space in which when they have an issue, because you can see through all of that, you remain the calm, you see, within the storm. And now the children have something to go to, because they know that they're not going to be dragged by the storm. But if you are dragged by the storm, they're both dealing in the storm, even though within the storm you're trying to help. But in reality, it's very difficult. But if you remain as the center, you see, well, the way you remain as the center is to just being. And then those who are caught in the storm, they have something or some reference to go to, so they realize that they also have the ability, put it this way, to remain in the calmness, because they are the calmness. The thoughts are the storm. You see? The thoughts are the storm, but you're always the calmness. You're always the center. Right now, whatever is going on in your life is a storm, or you say the thoughts, the interpretation is the storm. But right now, right this moment, don't identify with the storm, and now you have realized that you are the center. Always. You see? You're always the center. You always remain as that. And that's the invitation. That's what these videos are not about, fixing anything, changing anything or whatever. is that no matter what happens in the world of appearances, meaning no matter what happens with the mind that is trying to interpret everything, you can remain as that. You see, that's what it says. You are that. You are that. All this is that. You know, I am that. Everything is that. You see, and that is all there is. Well, that we're pointing to is non-conceptual. It's not found in thought. If anything, that is in which thoughts may seem to appear and disappear. That is in which the play of movement seem to appear. Well, the invitation is to remain as that. That is called love, you see. Essence, oneness, wholeness, God, peace. But let's not get caught up in labels. Right now, you see. Well, this is the invitation. And yes, because the mind is so used to identify with thought, it seems like you have to practice this over and over again. The Course in Miracles says choose again, and the Bible says forgive 70 times 7. These are just ways of saying that you're going to have to do it as many times as is necessary until the realization and the recognition is established. And once the recognition is established, it doesn't mean that thoughts will not be there, because that's one of the traps. The mind thinks that once this is established, I'm going to be in bliss for the rest of my life. I'm going to be in this. No, don't forget. If you're going to, the character is going to play the role that it was meant to play. It doesn't matter what the role is. The difference, however, is that whatever role the character plays, it won't matter. There will be no suffering. You see? And the mind can go, if I'm supposed to play the role of a horrible person, does mean that I cannot do anything about it? Yes, you cannot do anything about it, and yet at the same time I'm suggesting that if life is leading you to know who you are right now, why do you think that life would lead you to become a horrible person? See, it makes no sense. That's the mind making up possible stories. And if you say, yeah, but look, I'm a horrible person, look what I've done. Okay, but this is a new moment. This is a fresh moment that has nothing to do with anything you've done in the past, because there is no past. That's a thought. If you tell me I'm a horrible person, you're looking at a thought. You're not looking at a fact. The fact is that you are. That is a fact. The fact is that you are. You are being. We're pointing to the beingness. And then notice how from beingness, if you would find yourself acting according to what someone who's not conscious of it would act, and I'll guarantee you probably you won't. Because if you know that you are wholeness, you would also know that whatever you do to others, you're doing it to yourself. That's why I love a beautiful quote by the Bible when Jesus says, "Inasmuch you have done it to the little of my brethren, my children, my brothers and sisters, you have done it unto me." But you see, it's not that you're doing it to Jesus, it's just that you're doing it to yourself, because you, Jesus, is all the same. He is your brother because he's your teacher, until you realize that you have the same potential. You know, I think in A Course in Miracles, Jesus says, you and I are the same. The difference is that I only have the Holy Spirit and nothing else, and to you that's potential. If you look the same language in this world of appearances, it could be says, you and I are the same. You know, if you look at someone who is realized in a sense that doesn't believe the content of the mind, he would say to you, you and I are the same. The difference is that I don't believe the content of the mind, and to you it's potential. Potential means that you can still eventually don't believe the content of the mind, but right now, when you're so identified with the content of the mind, that is just potential. Well, as you continue realizing, not you, but again, limitation of language, or as the recognition that I am keeps settling in, then you'll see the validity of what this is pointing to. That's why I say at the beginning of the video, and I will always say, don't take anything I said as the absolute truth, because I'm not here to preach, or I'm not here to tell you what to do or not to do. This is just an invitation. These are suggestions that are expressed through this instrument. that works for me, because that's how life lives me. And yes, I do have my ups and downs like everybody else, and I see how thoughts can come up and they can be seen. I don't claim to be perfect or anything like that. I'm simply suggesting, see if any of the things that have been said here resonate, and put it into practice, so your experience is what determines the validity of what is being shared here. You see? So look what the message is pointing to, okay? But don't get caught in the message and saying, okay, I like what he says. Forget about what I say. Put it into practice, and you determine, have your own experience. I'm pointing to, that's all I'm doing. So right now, if you don't identify with any thoughts, don't believe any thoughts right now, you're simply the knowing principle that knows everything, and that's it. But you, what you are, again, what you claim yourself to be is a thought. The thought, I am an individual, that's a thought, that's not a fact. Investigate. If without the thought, can you say that you're that individual? And you may say, I feel like an individual. No. Feelings are happening, or seem to be happening. Without the thought, I'm an individual, you cannot claim ownership of those feelings. You see? Without the thought, I'm an individual, you cannot claim ownership of the thoughts. So once again, without identifying with any thoughts, without believing any thought, can you tell me that you are you? You cannot say that you are you unless a thought says that you are you. You simply are. And again, I'm not talking to you. This is very important. I'm not talking to the person. This is the consciousness talking to itself through the seeming character. So technically speaking, I'm speaking through you to the mind that is dreaming you, to remind itself that it's not that you. But it's not me, the person, it's the mind that is dreaming me, expressing the same thing. So again, right now, if you don't identify with any thoughts, especially the thought, I am trying not to identify with any thoughts. Nothing, just be. Just being, beingness, pure beingness. That's it. It doesn't matter if there's pain, it doesn't matter if there's pleasure, it doesn't matter if the thoughts about anything is happening, it does not matter. It's just basically what is. Sensation appear. They're not yours, they're just sensations, passing clouds. Thoughts appear. They are not yours, they're just passing clouds. Everything that is perceived is just the act of perceiving, of perception. That's all there is. But there's no one perceiving. You're not seeing. Seeing happens. You're not controlling the seeing. You're not hearing. Hearing happens. You're not controlling the hearing. If you think so, try to control the hearing right now. Shut it down right now. You're not controlling the heartbeat. If you think it does, try to shut it right now. You're not controlling the breathing. If you think so, try to not to breathe. And you say, okay, I can do that. Okay, let's see how long can you do it. There's a naturalness that is going to force you to it. And that naturalness is life. Life experiences as you. You, person, is not life. You are an expression of life. You see? But conceptually cannot be understood, because the conceptual mind is the one that's making believe that the person is the one that is alive. No. The conceptual mind is what holds on to the belief I'm a person. But you simply are. And again, this is where words are limiting, and they can just lead you so far. You cannot have the experience through words, but words can point to the recognition that I am, and then the experience is beyond words. See, there's a line in the Course in Miracles that it says this course would lead you to knowledge, but that is beyond the scope of what this course is trying to teach. And there's no point in talking about something that is beyond words. You see, it's pointing to, but it's not going to give you truth. You see, because it's Truth is beyond the mind, beyond the me. I mean, it's like being sleeping and dreaming, and in the dream says, I'm gonna show you what it's like to be the mind in bed. No, no, no. The only way you can experience the mind in bed or as mind is when the dream disappears, when you open your eyes. So in the dream, I cannot tell you what it's like to be awake, but in the dream I can tell you, withdraw the attention from the dream. That's as far as I can go. You see? And if you withdraw the attention from the dream and there's nothing left, then what remains is, oh my God, I was dreaming. I was talking to myself in the dream. See? So right now, I cannot tell you what truth is, and words will not tell you, will not describe, or not, there will not be the experience, but they serve as pointers. If you don't identify with the content of the mind, if you don't believe the thoughts, at least the first level of recognition that I'm pointing to, that is experienced in the human realm, is peace of mind, inner peace. Because the only thing that is disturbing that peace, the veil that is covering up that peace, that happiness, is the thought. Without the thought, all that there is what is. And this is what this is pointing to, at least so you can live a life where you can experience the peace that surpasses all understanding, you see. And then when this body is left, then this never even happened, okay? But while it seems that it's happening, there's a way of living in the world which is not of it. And that is with a mind that is not identified with its content. And these videos are all about that. They're not about fixing specific issues. It's not about telling you what to do or not to do or how to live your life. That's not about that. This video is about the obvious. The obvious of beingness. See? Truth. Being. Peace. See, the joy of being. Even when all kinds of sensations appear, even when all kinds of thoughts appear, just being. That's what it is right now. Can you say you're not being? Can you say that you are not? You cannot say you're not. You see? You cannot know what you are. It's impossible. You see? Because that is beyond the human. But one thing you know for certain is that you are. Well, this is the inspiration that came through this instrument. I hope it served. And as always, may peace permeate the mind so that love can be extended.